Hello and welcome to another episode of Intentionality. Where we talk about life with a purpose. And today I am here to talk about my marathon experience at Chicago 2024, which happened on 13th of October. And Chicago is one of the 6 major marathons, and it's a flat course. So if you plan to hit a PR, this is something that you should consider. And there are 4 ways to qualify for Chicago Marathon. So one is lottery. You can enter a ballot, and if you're selected, you are in. Another one is through qualification. So you run the qualification times. And third one is a tour operator, and then fourth one is charity. I did enter Chicago through qualification. When I ran my Gold Coast Marathon in 2023, I was of course attempting Boston qualification and I missed it by a minute. So I hit 3:11 instead of 3:10, but that actually qualified me for Chicago, which needed 3:20 for my age group. So I thought, why not? So I entered the marathon. In fact, I was very excited in 2023 when Chicago marathon happened. Kelvin Kipton, when he broke the world record, I was quite excited that I'll be running on the same race with the same course where the world record was broken. So given that I had 3:11 from GCM 2023, which was in July, and this Chicago Marathon was going to happen in 2024 October, almost almost 18 months. So I thought it was a good time to work towards 3:05, which would take me to Boston, which is like a North Star for many runners. But I just wanted to keep improving. Like in one of the recent podcasts, Yogi said, the race director Ultra Paderu, I like what he said about intentionality. It's having a purpose and then making sure that there is growth, and then you are at peace. So it's not just doing something for the heck of it, but also growing with it. So although there is a purpose, if there is no growth, you might start questioning the purpose. So I thought, I should work towards some improvement. So if I'm consistently doing, there should be improvement. So that's why I set the goal of 3:05 for Chicago 2024. So between Chicago and Gold Coast, I had London in 2024 April, and then in February there was Delhi. I was quite excited about Delhi because Delhi is also a flat course, and I did put in a lot of volume to an extent where in January 24 I had run around 480 kilometers. So I enjoyed. Somehow I managed to finish the Delhi Marathon. There was a scar of not being able to run just 20 meters from the finish line, but I still had managed to finish in 3:14, and I missed London. So Chicago was supposed to be a redemption race. So I had to take a break from running because of the injury for about 3 months. So until end of May, no running. So I slowly started in May 2024. And after about 4 weeks of base building, I thought, okay, it's a good time to enter 16 weeks of training block. And my training block, so this time my coach, Dilip, he upped the running from 5 days to 6 days. So my body joyfully accepted it. And given I was mindful of my injury from the last training block, I started strength training rigorously 3 times a week. Focusing on everything, anterior chain, posterior chain, lateral chains. So 3 days, 90 minutes session. So plus 6 days of running. It was a It was a rigorous training season actually. So it was a 6 days running. My running schedule is little different from the regular running schedules. I don't do a long run on weekend. I do long run on Thursdays. So generally I start with an easy run on Mondays and some workout on Tuesdays. Then another easy run on Wednesdays, long run on Thursdays. Friday rest day where I do yoga as well, 1 hour yoga, and then I do a bit of walking in the evening. Plus Saturday easy run, and then Sundays end the training week with hard workout, a quality workout. And I would do strength train on Mondays, Wednesdays and Saturdays. So that means my hard workouts and long runs are preceded by a strength session. So my body actually learned how to run with fatigued legs because of that. In fact, that is what has worked for me in the past as well. So during GCM, when I was very close to BQ, I was lifting very heavy. In fact, I was doing at times 4 days of strength training. So my body actually stimulates well for higher volume and higher weights. And also this time I modified few things from the last training block. I stopped walking much because I used to walk a lot, almost 25 kilometers a week, and I reduced it to 5 to 10 kilometers just on the recovery day. And this time I did not have any double runs. In the last training block I had double runs every week. Body was recovering well. So it was after 4 weeks of base building, started the 16 weeks training block. For almost 5 weeks there was base building where I hit almost 90 kilometer, from somewhere between 70 to 90 kilometers. Took a down week and then we started the build phase where I was able to hit 80 to 95 kilometers. And I had run 30 kilometer long run before the down week, and then after that in the build week for about 4 to 5 weeks, every week there was a 30 to 33 kilometers long run. So I was due for the peak week when so that's the time when generally go for 35 kilometer, couple of 35 kilometer long runs and then a 37 kilometer long run. And I generally don't run short races. So far in my life, I have run only 2 half marathon races, and I've run 7 marathon races. So I run short races very infrequently. But this time I thought, how about just running a race, maybe 30 kilometer race, and fine-tune my pace, like a tune-up race. So I thought in September first week I would do a 30 kilometer race in Mysuru. I signed up for it and traveled to Mysuru just the night before the race. I wasn't feeling good, so I thought maybe it's the fatigue of starting the peak week. So that week I was supposed to hit the 100 kilometers, so just the 30 was pending. So I thought maybe the new volume after a long time, maybe that's why the fatigue is there. So I took a dolo and slept, and when I woke up in the morning I was feeling good. And in fact I was there with Jakuru runners. It was the first time I was traveling with anybody for a race, so I was quite happy that I am socializing as well. So in the morning I was feeling good, but after about 13 kilometers I realized my body is not really pushing, it's not enjoying. And I realized I had the fever. I was running with fever. So my body has so much pain tolerance that I could not even realize that I am running with fever. So I decided to quit. So that was my first, did not finish. Every runner should have one DNF in their life, so that we have balance of success and failures. So I came back home we generally at Lean Pitch, we work remotely, and then once in 3 months or so, we come together and we work together at our resort called Glampis. So the fever went up, so it was not subsiding. So my team forced me to go to the hospital, and I was there for about 3 days. Platelet count was going down, so although the report said negative for dengue, the hospital started treating me for dengue. I think on third day it reversed a bit, so they let me go home. So on the last day, one of the reports suggested yes, it was dengue, and I came home to Bangalore. Then I noticed the next day onwards the platelet count started going down further, and after a couple of days it went down by so much that it went close to 40,000 or so. So my wife forced me to go to hospital again. So I was there for another 3 days. While I was in Bangalore hospital, while I was lying on the bed, I could feel every injury that I had in the past. That was not a good sign. I thought, this block is gone. This marathon is gone. In fact, my wife was so much worried that she did not want me to go. She said, cancel it. My team at Lean Pitch, they said, cancel it. I was like, never say that to a runner. So after 3 days, the platelet count became normal, and the doctor discharged with a warning that I should not do any physical work. They said it will take at least 4 weeks to get the base strength back. So 2 weeks of peak week went in vain, so I missed all the fun. But I still wanted to go and do Chicago, so I started running again. All the doctor had said, don't do anything the next week. So I walked a lot, and then I did put in some stealth runs without telling my wife that I'm running. So maybe around 50 kilometers or so I was able to manage. Then I had only 3 more weeks to Chicago, so there was no way I could build my strength back or improve on fitness. All we could do was maintain fitness. So started putting in 70 to 80 kilometers, and then goal was to reach the start line healthy. So that was the training block. In fact, in this training block, I did use different shoes. I used the On Cloud Eclipse for recovery. I used No Blast 4 for easy runs, and I used Puma Deviate Nitro, and I also had Endorphin Elite from the last race, so I used it for workouts. And for this race, my wife had gifted a Alpha Fly 3, so I wanted to use that for this race. So I reached Chicago 3 days prior to the race, and I noticed there was a park next to my accommodation, Ambil Park. I was quite happy that I don't have to run in the city. I can run in the park, greenery. There were many runners already arrived in Chicago for the marathon. So I gained some confidence by running a few shakeout runs there. Weather was fantastic, around 14 degrees or so. I also found a bagel place next to the park. So every day breakfast was at bagel place. So I started carb loading about 3 days from the race. I stuck with Thai food in the afternoon and evening, so that my body can adjust with the food. I went to the expo. Expo was great. In fact, getting into expo and collecting babe, it did not take more than a minute or so. It was so quick. The venue was huge, and there were many stalls at expo. But my intent was just to gather whatever is needed for the race. I was training with Morton. I was planning to use Morton for the race. So I went to Morton store. There was a huge queue. In fact, I spent about 40 minutes in the queue before I was able to purchase the race pack. So the race day arrived. Weather was looking good. As usual, I started preparing 3 hours prior to the race with Morton 160 drink mix, and then and I also this time had a solid 160, and started doing mobility exercises. And I knew that I could take Uber to the start line, very close to the start line, just a few hundred meters to the start line. So I was not worried. So I started just 20 minutes. I started almost 2 hours prior to the race start time, and I was there 90 minutes prior to the race. In fact, all the blogs that I had read suggested that you should reach early because they might make you empty your water bottles. I do run with 4 to 5 150 ml soft flasks, so I generally fill it and then carry it with me. So I was worried that they might make me empty those. So I went there sooner, and they was also saying that there will be huge queue to enter the Grand Park, but there was no queue. I entered very easily. There was no need to empty the water flasks, and I checked in the baggage. I also had carried a hoodie, a throwaway layer, in case I have to keep myself warm, but the temperature was good. So I checked that in as well. And I was in Coral D. I was there with Vishwa, my running buddy. So in fact, we both were training with the same goal, and we had the goal of running together and achieve 3:05. But my illness and injury prior to starting this training block made it impossible for me. So in the Coral that we were in, there was a 3:10 pacer, and then there was 3:15 pacer, and then there was Vishwa, who was going to run at 3:05. So Vishwa was encouraging me, let's try whatever happens, let's do it. Let's run together as much as we can. And then I was confused now whether I should run with Vishwa, I should follow 3:10 pacer, 3:15 pacer, I run my own race. I was confused. So I thought I could hold 3:10 maybe. At least if not 3:05, I could hold 3:10. The environment was so electric. Everybody was so energized, and then there was a lot of cheers, volunteers. I felt I should go after 3:10 pacers. So I followed them. I was able to comfortably follow them. In fact, the first 10 to 15 kilometers, my Garmin was screaming out saying, I'm running faster. But I know that there will be GPS issues in Chicago, so I just trusted the pacers, and then I followed them until 25 kilometers. After 25 kilometers, the lack of fitness started showing up. I could feel the effort. I did lose sight of pacers, but I was still determined to just finish strong. So I started running at maybe around 4:35 to 4:40 pace from 25 kilometer onwards. Around 27 kilometers, I saw a biofreeze zone. See what happened because of the lack of fitness. There was the entire upper body was cramped. So you might have heard of people hitting walls, and people hit walls for two reasons. One is lack of hydration and fueling. Another one is you start faster beyond your fitness, and when you do that, your body can cramp and then you hit the wall. So second one happened with me. So I missed biofreeze zone. I regret that now. Maybe that would have helped me. So at around 33 kilometers, the upper body was not moving much. So legs were fine. So I paused to stretch and see if I can relax a bit. then I lost the rhythm. But one thing that I did between 25 to 35 kilometers was just to forget the effort that I was putting in. I started high-fiving people in the audience and reading the boards that spectators had, the funny ones, and hitting power-up buttons. So that actually helped me forget about the effort. So generally when I run, I do wear my earplugs. So if I need something at some point in time, I could start listening to the music. But I have trained almost since last 1 year without music. So in fact, whenever I try to listen to music, it had become distraction. So I decided not to carry it. So maybe that would have helped this time. So 35 kilometer onwards, I was feeling the effort. I stopped multiple times. I did realize my mistake. See, miracles don't happen in race. Your fitness shows up in your training. Now, if we treat training as the actual race and use the actual race as your celebration, it makes a lot of difference. So you know your fitness during the training and stick to that on the race day. Don't experiment. So I did learn that big lesson because I was pretty much drained out and I felt defeated at the end of 35th kilometer. And I think I had mentally given up after 35 kilometers that, I don't want to do this. But somehow I went and finished. I hit 3 hours, 25 minutes, some seconds. And I arrived at the finish line defeated, learned a big lesson. This was one of the difficult races that I endured. And it was because of my stupidity. And after the race, the facilities were very good. There were multiple medical camps, and the food and water and protein, everything was provided in increments. So you walk certain meters and then you get water, walks another meter, so certain meters and then you get banana. Then there was muscle milk, so that actually helped them recovering pretty quick. But I also carried electrolytes as well as enough carbs as well as protein in my chicken bag. So I collected my chicken bag and then made sure that I had the food that I had carried. Plus one more thing that I did in this training block was I started using cryogel after all the hard workouts. So recovery was happening faster. So I applied cryogel immediately after I got my my chicken bag. So I was able to recover pretty quickly. In fact, I started feeling very good after about 1 hour from the race finish time. So Chicago is a beautiful flat course. If you want to hit your PRs, you should certainly go there. So there is great weather. The spectators are great. In fact, they hand you food, they hand you bottle of water. There are a lot of signboards, and then you'll be able to read funny messages from the cards and then forget the effort that you are putting in. So you should certainly go to Chicago if you want to hit your marathon PR. So a few lessons that I got from this marathon was, one is, of course, miracles don't happen on the race day. Stick to what you have learned about fitness in your training. Strength training is very much essential for you to stay injury free. So I paid a lot of attention to strength training, so that helped. Aerobic fitness without strength does not really help. In fact, I feel it was my lack of strength due to dengue that resulted in me bonking. Aerobic fitness was there, but I bonked because of lack of muscle strength. I had lost quite some muscle after dengue, and I did not have enough time to build it. Third, never arrive at the start line confused. If you're confused at the start line, you will run the entire race confused, and then you will end up arriving at the finish line confused. So have clarity of what goal you want to achieve on the race day. Whatever may be the goal, finishing strong or time goal, have clarity. That is very much essential. But otherwise, I really enjoyed this training block. It was, I wouldn't say it's a tough training block because I felt volume was light, and I enjoyed hitting 3-day strength, 6-day running. So I did enjoy the training block, although I did not have anything to show for it because of the illness that happened. But it was a good one. Thank you for listening. I also ran New York Marathon within 3 weeks from the Chicago race day. So I'll share about that in the next episode. Thank you for listening.